Welcome student. Now today starts with the digestive system. Aim of today's practical is to study of the digestive system with the help of models, charts and the specimen.
Requirements of the digestive system, it includes the model, chart and the specimen. Now see, here is the model of the digestive system. In that they contain the mouth, teeth, pharynx, esophagus, stomach, liver, gallbladder, pancreas, large intestine, small intestine, appendix and the rectum. Here is the total of the digestive system or the organs of the digestive system.
Requirements are models and the chart of digestive system. The organs which involved in the breakdown of food, which is collectively called as the digestive system. Two groups of organs which compose of the digestive system, which is the gastrointestinal tract or the GI tract and the accessory digestive organs. The gastrointestinal tract or the alimentary canal or the alimentary nourishment is a continuous tube that extends from the mouth to the anus through the thoracic and the abdominopelvic cavities. Organs of the gastrointestinal tract, which include the mouth, most of the pharynx, esophagus, stomach, small intestine and the large intestine. The accessory digestive organs include the teeth, tongue, salivary glands, liver, gallbladder and the pancreas. Teeth aid in the physical breakdown of food and the tongue assist in chewing and the swallowing. The other accessory digestive organs, however, never come into contact with the food. They produce or store the secretions that flow into the gastrointestinal tract. Through the duct, the secretion aid in the chemical breakdown of food. The gastrointestinal tract contains the food from the time it is eaten until it is digested and absorbed or eliminated. Muscular contraction in the wall of the gastrointestinal tract physically break down the food by churning it and propel the food along the tract from the esophagus to the anus. The contraction also help to dissolve the foods by mixing them with fluid secreted into the tract. Enzymes secreted by the accessory digestive organs and the cells that line the tract break down the food chemically. Now here is the mouth, esophagus, liver, stomach, gallbladder, pancreas, duodenum. Next one is ascending colon, transfer colon, descending colon, ileum, cecum, appendix, anus, jejunum, sigmoid colon and the rectum. Now here is starting from the eating of the food up to the digestion of the food or the elimination of the food. Now here is the mouth, esophagus, liver, stomach, gallbladder, pancreas. These are the total process of eating of the food up to the elimination of the food. Now here is the diagram which shows the parts of the digestive system. Essential activities of the digestion include: first one is the ingestion, which is the taking the food into the digestive tract. Next one is the propulsion, in that the swallowing and the peristalsis. Third one is the peristalsis, it means the waves of the contraction and the relaxation of muscles in the organ walls. Fourth one is mechanical digestion, in that the chewing, mixing and the churning of the food. Fifth one is chemical digestion, which is a catabolic breakdown of the food. Sixth one is the absorption, in that movement of nutrients from the gastrointestinal tract to the blood or the lymph. And seventh one is the deification, which is the elimination of indigestible solid waste. Now overall, the digestive system which performs the 6 basic processes, in that the first one is the ingestion. In this process, which involves the taking of the food and the liquids into the mouth, it means the eating or the drinking. Second one is the secretion. In that, each day cells within the walls of the gastrointestinal tract and the accessory digestive organ, which secretes a total of about 7 liters of the water, acid, buffers and the enzyme into the lumen of the tract. Lumen is the interior space. Third one is the mixing and the propulsion. Alternating contraction and relaxation of smooth muscle in the walls of the gastrointestinal tract mix the food and secretions and move them towards the anus. This capability of the gastrointestinal tract to mix and move material along its length is called as the motility. Fourth one is the digestion. In that, the digestion, mechanical and the chemical process break down the ingested food into the smaller particles or the molecules. In mechanical digestion, the teeth cut and grind the food before it swallow, and then smooth muscle of the stomach and small intestine churn the food to further assist the process. As a result, food molecules become dissolved and thoroughly mixed with the digestive enzyme. In chemical digestion, the large carbohydrate, lipid, protein and nucleic acid molecules in the food are split into smaller molecules by the hydrolysis. Digestive enzyme produced by the salivary gland, tongue, stomach, pancreas and small intestine catalyze the catabolic reactions. Next one, the absorbed substance pass into blood or lymph and circulate cells throughout the body. Sixth one is the deification. Waste, indigestible substances, bacteria, cells from the lining of the gastrointestinal and digested materials that were not absorbed in their journey through the digestive tract leave the body through the anus in a process which is called as the deification. The eliminated material is termed as the feces or the stool. Starts with the organs. Now first one is the gastrointestinal tract. It is external environment for the digestion process or the digestive process. Regulation of digestion involves mechanical and the chemical stimuli in which stretch the receptor, osmolarity and presence of substrate in the lumen. Extrinsic control by central nervous system centers. Intrinsic control by the local center. Next one is the histology of the alimentary canal. From esophagus to the anal canal, the wall of the gastrointestinal tract have the same 4 tunics. The 4 layers of the tract from deep to the superficial, which are the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis and the serosa or the adventitia. Each tunic has a predominant tissue type and specific digestive function. Now see in the diagram, these are the serosa, outermost cover, muscularis externa, submucosa and the mucosa. Now first one is the mucosa, which is a moist epithelial layer that lines the lumen of the alimentary canal. It is 3 major functions are secretion of mucus, absorption of the end products of digestion, protection against infectious disease. They consist of 3 layers. First one is the lining epithelium, lamina propria and the muscularis mucosa. Mucosa, in that the first one is the epithelial lining. The epithelium is the mouth, pharynx, esophagus and anal canal is mainly non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium that serves a protective function, which is consist of simple columnar epithelium and mucus secreting goblet cell. Okay, this goblet cell which is responsible for the secretion of the mucus. The mucus secretion which protect the digestive organs from the digesting itself. Again, easy food along the tract. Stomach and small intestine mucus contains the enzyme secreting cells and the hormone secreting cells, okay, which making them endocrine and digestive organs. And this hormone secreting cell which is also called as the enteroendocrine cells. Now next one is the mucosa lamina propria. The lamina propria is an alveolar connective tissue which containing many blood and lymphatic vessels, which are the routes by which nutrients absorb into the gastrointestinal tract and reach the other tissue of the body. This lamina propria, which is a lamina thin, flat plate, and the propria means the one's own. Okay. Next one is this layer supports the epithelium and binds it to the muscularis mucosa. The lamina propria also contains the majority of the cells of the mucosa associated lymphatic tissue, which is a MALT. These prominent lymphatic nodules contains immune system cells that protects against the disease. And this mucosa associated lymphatic tissue is present all along the gastrointestinal tract, especially in the tonsils, small intestine, appendix, and the large intestine. Next one is the muscularis mucosa. A thin layer of smooth muscle fiber, which is called as the muscularis mucosa, throws the mucous membrane of the stomach and small intestine into many small folds, which increase the surface area for digestion and the absorption. Next one is the mucous other sublayers, submucosa. Submucosa consists of alveolar connective tissue that bind the mucosa to the muscularis. It contains many blood and lymphatic vessels that receive, absorb food molecules. Also located in the submucous is an extensive network of neurons, which is also known as the submucosal plexus. The submucosa may also contain glands and the lymphatic tissue. Next one is the muscularis. The muscularis of the mouth, pharynx, and superior and middle parts of the esophagus, which contains skeletal muscle that produces the voluntary swallowing and which is responsible for segmentation and the peristalsis. Next one is the serosa. Those portions of the gastrointestinal tract that are suspended in the abdominal cavity have a superficial layer which is called as the serosa. As its name implies, the serosa is a serous membrane which is composed of areolar connective tissue and simple squamous epithelium, which is a mesothelium. The serosa is also called the visceral peritoneum because it forms a portion of the peritoneum. The esophagus lacks a serosa. Instead, only a single layer of areolar connective tissue called the adventitia forms the superficial layer of this organ. Now, this diagram indicates the when the food is get eaten, okay, then passes to the stomach, and in the stomach the food is get broken down. After in the small intestine, the food is made the liquid form, and after the large intestine, water is absorbed into the bloodstream. And last one is the food get excreted. waste food get excreted into the body. Now starts with mouth. The mouth is also referred to as the oral or the buccal cavity or the buccal cheeks. It is formed by the cheeks, hard and the soft palate and the tongue. They are covered externally by the skin and internally by a mucous membrane which consists of the non-keratinized squamous epithelium. The anterior portion of the cheeks end at the lips. The lips or the labia, which is a fleshy border, are fleshy folds surrounding the opening of the mouth. The oral vestibule, which is the entrance to a canal. The oral vestibule of the oral cavity is the space bounded externally by the cheeks and the lips and internally by the gums and the teeth. The palate is a wall or the septum that separates the oral cavity from the nasal cavity and forms the roof of the mouth. This important structure makes it possible to chew and breathe at the same time. The hard palate, the anterior portion of the roof of the mouth, is formed by the maxilla and palatine bones and is covered by a mucous membrane. It forms a bony partition between the oral and the nasal cavity. The soft palate, which forms the posterior portion of the roof of the mouth, is an arc-shaped muscular partition between the oropharynx and the nasopharynx that is lined with mucous membrane. The mouth is formed by the cheeks, hard and the soft palate and the tongue. Hanging from the free border of the soft palate is a finger-like muscular structure which is called as the vulva. Now see in the diagram, here is the hard palate which is the bony forms most of the root of the mouth. Next one is these are the soft fillet which is a muscular and they forms the rest of the mouth roof. Vulva which prevent the swallow foods from entering the nasal cavity. Now see these are the vulva. Now next one is the cheeks, which forms the lateral wall of the oral cavity. These are the molar, premolar, canines, incisors. These are the teeth. Next one is the tongue, salivary glands. A salivary gland is a gland that releases a secretion which is called as the saliva into the oral cavity. Ordinarily, just enough saliva is secreted to keep the mucous membrane of the mouth and pharynx moist and to cleanse the mouth and the teeth. Now in this diagram, these are the salivary glands. Now see, these are the salivary glands, and these salivary glands secrete or releases the saliva into the oral cavity. When food enters the mouth, however, secretion of saliva increases and it lubricates, dissolves and begins the chemical breakdown of the food. There are three pairs of major salivary glands. First one is the parotid gland, second one is the submandibular, and third one is the sublingual glands. Now first one is the parotid gland. Para means near and oto means the ear, which are located inferior and anterior to the ears between the skin and the master muscle. They secrete their secretion in oral cavity where parotid duct, and it is the largest salivary gland. Next one is the submandibular gland. These are found in the floor of the mouth. They are medial and partly inferior to the body of the mandible. They secrete their secretion into the oral cavity by submandibular ducts. Third one is sublingual gland. Are beneath the tongue or below the tongue and superior to the submandibular glands. It is the smallest of the salivary glands. Now see in this diagram, these are the parotoid duct, these are the parotoid gland, submandibular gland and the sublingual gland. Next one is composition and function of the saliva. Now chemically, saliva is the 99.5% of water and 0.5% of the solutes. Among the solutes are ions including the sodium, potassium, chloride, bicarbonate and phosphate, immunoglobulin A, the bacteriolytic enzyme lysozyme. Also present are some dissolved gases and various organic substances which include the urea and the uric acid, mucus, salivary amylase, a digestive enzyme that acts on starch. The water in saliva provides a medium for dissolving foods so that they can be tested by gustatory receptor and so that digestive reaction can get begin. Chloride ions in the saliva activate salivary amylase, an enzyme that starts the breakdown of the starch in the mouth into maltose, maltotriose and the dextrin. Bicarbonate and phosphate ions buffer acidic foods that enters the mouth, so saliva is only slightly get acidic in that the pH is 6.35 to 6.85. Salivary glands help to remove waste molecule from the body, which accounts for the presence of urea and the uric acid in the saliva. Mucus lubricates food so it can be removed around easily in the mouth, form into a ball and swallow. Immunoglobulin A or the IgA, which prevent the attachment of microbes so they cannot penetrate the epithelium, and the enzyme lysozyme kills the bacteria. However, these substances are not present in large enough quantities to eliminate all oral bacteria. Now next one is the salivation. The secretion of saliva, which is called as the salivation, and it is controlled by the autonomic nervous system. Amount of saliva secreted daily vary considerably by average 1000 to 1500 ml. Normally, parasympathetic stimulation promotes the continuous secretion of a moderate amount of saliva, which keeps the mucous membrane moist and lubricate the movement of the tongue and lips during the speech. The saliva is then swallowed and also help moisten the esophagus. Eventually, most components of the saliva are reabsorbed, which prevent the fluid loss. Sympathetic stimulation dominates during the stress, resulting in dryness of the mouth. If the body becomes dehydrated, the salivary gland stops secreting saliva to conserve the water. The resulting dryness in the mouth contributes to the sensation of the thirst. Drinking not only restores the homeostasis of the body water, but also it is moisten the mouth. The feel and taste of the food also are potent stimulators of salivary gland secretion. Chemicals in the food stimulate the receptors in taste bud, on the tongue and impulses are conveyed from the taste bud to two salivary nuclei in the brainstem, superior and the inferior salivatory nuclei. Salivation contributes to the secreted heavily for some time after food is get swallowed. This flow of saliva wash out the mouth, and smell, sight, sound or thought of the food may also stimulate the secretion of the saliva. Now function of the saliva is for cleaning purpose. Saliva which helps the cleaning the mouth and the teeth. Okay, again keeping them free from the debris and prevent the excessive growth of the bacteria. Next one is the moisten and lubrication. Saliva lubricates and moistens the soft part of the mouth, keeping it palatable for speech. Next one is excretion. Many organic substances like as the urea and inorganic substances which like as the mercury, lead and many drugs are excreted in the saliva. Next one is the chemical digestion of the polysaccharide. In that, saliva contains the enzyme amylase that brings about the breakdown of complex sugars like starch. Next one is the lubrication of food. Saliva produces the moisture and lubrication of the food entering into the mouth. The teeth or the dentines are accessory digestive organs located in sockets of the alveolar process of the mandible and the maxilla. The alveolar process are covered by the gingiva or the gums which extended slightly into each socket. A typical tooth has three major external regions: the crown, root and the neck. The crown is the visible portion above the level of the gums. Embedded in the sockets are 1 to 3 roots. The neck is the constricted junction of the crown and root near the gum line. Internally, dentin forms the majority of the tooth. Dentin consists of a calcified connective tissue that gives the tooth its basic shape and the rigidity. It is harder than bone because of its higher content of the hydroxyapatite. The dentin of the crown is covered by enamel which consists primarily of calcium phosphate and the calcium carbonate. Enamel is also harder than bone because of its even higher content of the calcium salt. In fact, enamel is the hardest substance in the body. It serves to protect the tooth from the wear and the tear of chewing. It also protects against the acid that can easily dissolve the dentin. The dentin of a tooth encloses a space. The enlarged part of space, the pulp cavity, lies within the crown and is filled with pulp, a connective tissue which containing the blood vessels, nerves and the lymphatic vessels. Narrow extensions of the pulp cavity, which is called as the root canals, run through the root of the tooth. Each root canal has an opening at its base, the apical foramina, through which blood vessels, lymphatic vessels and nerves enter a tooth. The blood vessels bring nourishment, the lymphatic vessels offer protection and the nerve provides sensation. Now see in the diagram, these are the crown, neck and the root. This is the enamel which protects the tooth from the wear and tear. Next one is the dentin, which is calcified connective tissue, make up the majority of the tooth. Next one is the pulp cavity, cementum, these are the root canal, predominant ligament, apical foramina. Here is the nerves and the blood vessels are present. Humans have two dentines or set of teeth, deciduous and the permanent. This falling out set of the teeth, which is also called as the deciduous. The first of these, the deciduous teeth, deciduous it means the falling out, also called as the primary teeth, also called as the milk teeth or the baby teeth, which begin to erupt at about the 6th month of the age, and approximately 2 teeth appear each month thereafter until all 20 are present. The incisors, which are closest to the midline, are chisel shaped and adapted for cutting into food. They are referred to as either central or lateral incisor based on their position. Next to the incisor, moving posteriorly, are the canines, which have a pointed surface which is called as the cups. Canines are used to tear and shear the food. Incisors and the canines have only one root apiece. Posterior to the canines lie the first and second deciduous molars, which have 4 cups. Maxillary, it means the upper molar, have 3 roots. Mandibular, which is the lower, have 2 roots. The molar crush and the grind food to prepare it for swallowing. All the deciduous teeth are lost generally between the age of the 6 to 12 years and are replaced by the permanent teeth or the secondary teeth. The permanent dentition contains the 32 teeth. The pattern resembles the deciduous dentition with the following exceptions. The deciduous molars are replaced by the first and the second molar, which is the bicuspids, which have 2 cups and 1 root and are also used for crushing and the grinding. Now in this diagram, now see is the central incisor, next one is the lateral incisor, now the canine, first molar and the second molar. These are the upper teeth. Next one is the second molar, first molar, canine, lateral incisor and the central incisor. These are the deciduous teeth or the primary teeth. Now next one is the permanent or the secondary teeth. They contain the central incisor, lateral incisor, canine, first premolar or the bicuspid. Next one is the second premolar or the bicuspid. Next one is first molar, second molar and the third molar. These are the upper teeth of the permanent teeth or the secondary dentition. Okay. Now in that the lower teeth contains the third molar or the wisdom tooth. Next one is second molar, first molar, second premolar or bicuspid, first premolar or bicuspid, canine, lateral incisor and the central incisor. Now in the permanent tooth contain the 32 teeth. And in the deciduous or the primary teeth contains the 20 teeth. Pharynx. When food is first swallowed, it passes from the mouth into the pharynx. Now see in the diagram, this is the mouth. When firstly we eaten the food, then it transfer to the pharynx or the throat, which is a funnel shaped tube. The pharynx, which is composed of skeletal muscle and lined by mucous membrane and get divided into the 3 parts. First one is the nasopharynx, second one is the oropharynx and last one is the laryngopharynx. The nasopharynx, which function only in respiration, But both the oropharynx and the laryngopharynx have the function digestive as well as the respiratory function. Swallowed food passes from the mouth into the oropharynx and laryngopharynx. The muscular contraction of these areas help to propel the food into the esophagus and then into the stomach. Now this nasopharynx, it is the superior portion of the larynx and it is important for the respiration, and it moves bowels from oropharynx to laryngopharynx and into the esophagus. Now second one is the oropharynx. The intermediate portion of the pharynx is the oropharynx, and it is lies posteriorly to the oral cavity and extend from the soft palate inferiorly to the level of the hyoid bone. Last one is the laropharynx. The inferior portion of pharynx is the laropharynx or the hypopharynx, begins at the level of the hyoid bone. It opens into the esophagus posteriorly and the larynx or the voice box anteriorly. Esophagus. The esophagus, which is a collapsible muscular tube about 25 cm and the 10-inch long, that lies posterior to the trachea. The mucosa of the esophagus, which is consists of non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium, lamina propria, which is the areolar connective tissue, and muscularis mucosa, which is smooth muscle. The stratified squamous epithelium associated with the lips, mouth, tongue, oropharynx, laryngopharynx, and the esophagus afford considerably protection against abrasion and wear and tear from food particles that are chewed, mixed with secretion and get swallowed. At each end of the esophagus, the muscularis become slightly more prominent and forms two sphincters, the upper esophageal sphincter and the lower esophageal sphincter. This upper esophageal sphincter, which consists of skeletal muscle, and the lower esophageal sphincter, which consists of the smooth muscle and is near the heart. The upper esophageal sphincter regulates the movement of food from the pharynx into the esophagus. The lower esophageal sphincter regulates the movement of food from the esophagus into the stomach. The superficial layer of the esophagus, which is also known as the adventitia rather than the serosa, as in the stomach and the intestine. Next one is physiology of the esophagus. The esophagus secretes the mucus and transport food into the stomach. It does not produce the digestive enzyme and it does not carry on absorption. Now see here is the mucosa, which is a non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium. Here is the lamina propria, muscularis mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, which is a circular layer, and this muscularis contains the longitudinal layer, and the last one is the adventitia. These are totally of the esophagus. Regulation of acid secretion. Now the parietal cell in the stomach, which secrete roughly 2 liters of acid in a day in the form of the hydrochloric acid, and this acid in the stomach which kills the bacteria and to aid digestion by solubilizing the food. The acid is also important to establish the optimal pH in between 1.8 to 3.5 for the function of the digestive enzyme, which is a pepsin. A key protein for acid secretion is the hydrogen potassium ATPase or the proton pump. This protein, which is expressed on the apical membrane of parietal cell, uses energy derived from ATP hydrolysis to pump hydrogen ions into the lumen in exchange for potassium ions. Now these are the resting parietal cells. In the gastrin, histamine and the acetylcholine, the acid secreting parietal cell get open. Now these are the resting parietal cell and these are the acid secreting parietal cell. Stimulation of acid secretion involves the translocation of hydrogen potassium ATPase to the apical membrane of the parietal cells. When the cells is resting, it means not stimulated. The hydrogen potassium ATPase are located in vesicles inside the cell. When the cells is stimulated, these vesicles fuse with the plasma membrane, thereby increasing the surface area of the plasma membrane and the number of proton pump in the membrane. Now next is there are the three regulatory molecules that stimulate the acid secretion: acetylcholine, histamine and the gastrin. And one regulatory molecule that inhibits the acid secretion, which is the somatostatin. Acetylcholine is a neurotransmitter that is released by enteric neurons, and the histamine, which is a paracrine that is released by the enterochromaffin-like cells. And this gastrin is a hormone that is released by G cells, endocrine cells that are located in the gastric epithelium. And the somatostatin is also secreted by endocrine cell of the gastric epithelium, and it can be act as either a paracrine or the hormone. Now see in the diagram, these are the parietal cells which secrete the SCL, and these somatostatin releasing cells secrete the somatostatin. Again, this somatostatin from the enterochromaffin cells, G cell to the gastrin, to the enterochromaffin cell, to the histamine, to the parietal cells. And this figure shows that the positive and negative regulators interact to stimulate acid secretion. The acetylcholine and the histamine directly stimulate parietal cells to increase acid secretion. Gastrin stimulate acid secretion by stimulating histamine release from the enterochromaffin cell. When the pH of the stomach gets too low, somatostatin secretion is stimulated. This somatostatin inhibits the acid secretion by direct effect on parietal cells and also by inhibiting release of the positive regulators histamine and the gastrin. The balance of activity of the different regulators changes as food is consumed and pass through different segments of the upper gastrointestinal tract. Now there are the three phases of the gastric acid secretion. In that, first one is the cephalic phase. The cephalic phase, which stimuli are things like the sight, smell, taste or the thought of the food. These stimuli proceed by the brain, activate enteric neurons via the parasympathetic preganglionic neuron traveling in the vagus nerve. Now see, cephalic phase stimuli to the parasympathetic preganglionic neurons into the enteric neuron to releases the acetylcholine. Next one pass to the parietal cells. Now second one is the gastric phase. The primary factor during the gastric phase is there is food in the stomach which stimulate acid secretion. There are three different ways that is occur. Food will stretch the wall of the stomach. This is sensed by the mechanoreceptor activating a neural reflex to stimulate acid secretion. In the diagram, they are shown in the purple color. Now, peptides and amino acid in the food stimulate the G cell to release the gastrin, and this phase indicated in diagram by the blue color. Now, food also act as a buffer, raising the pH and thus removing the stimulus for somatostatin secretion, and it is indicated by the light blue and the green color. Now third phase is the intestinal phase. Once the chyme enters the duodenum, Intestinal flares activate negative feedback mechanism to reduce acid secretion and prevent the chyme from becoming too acidic. This occurs by neuronal refluxes and hormonal refluxes. And the enterogastrones are hormones that inhibit the stomach process. In this case, acid gets secreted. Now there are the three main phases. First one is the cephalic phase, next one is the gastric phase, and the last one is the intestinal phase. In the cephalic phase, the acid secreted by the smell thought. Now next one is the gastric phase. In the gastric phase, acid is secreted when the food is already present in the stomach, and the intestinal phase, in that the chyme enters the duodenum. These are totally about the acid secretion. Stomach. The stomach, which is a J-shaped enlargement of the gastrointestinal tract, which is directly inferior to the diaphragm in the abdomen. The stomach, which connects the esophagus to the duodenum, the first part of the small intestine. Because a meal can be eaten much more quickly than the intestine can digest and absorb it, one of the functions of the stomach is to serve as a mixing chamber and holding the reservoir. Next one is anatomy of the stomach. The stomach has the four main regions: the cardia, fundus, body, and the pyrolic part. The cardiac surrounds the opening of the esophagus into the stomach. The rounded portion superior to and to the left of the cardia is the fundus. Inferior to the fundus is the large central portion of the stomach, which is called as the body. The pyrolic part is divided into the three regions. The first region is the pyrolic antrum, which connect to the body of the stomach. Next one is the second region, which is the pyrolic canal, lead to the third region, the pyrolus, which in turn connects to the duodenum. When the stomach is empty, the mucosa lies in large fold, which is called as the rugae. The pyrolus communicates with the duodenum of the small intestine via a smooth muscle sphincter, which is called as the pyrolic sphincter. The concave medial border of the stomach is called the lesser curvature. The concave lateral border is called as the greater curvature. Now next one is the functions of the stomach. First one is the mix the saliva, food and gastric juice to form the chyme. Second one, which is serve as a reservoir for food before release into the small intestine. Third one is secrete the gastric juice, which contains the HCl, and this HCl is responsible for the killing the bacteria and degenerates the protein. Next one is the pepsin. This pepsin is responsible for the digestion of protein. Next one is intrinsic factor, which aids to absorption of the vitamin B12. And the gastric lipase, which again aids digestion of the triglyceride. And function last one is the secrete the gastrin into the blood. Now in this diagram, see, these are the fundus, cardia, these are the body, and the pyrolus. Here is the pyrolic sphincter, here is the pyrolic canal, pyrolic antrum. Now see in the diagram, food is passes converted into the smaller particles. Next one is histology of the stomach. The surface of the mucosa is a layer of simple columnar epithelial cells, which is called as the surface mucous cells. The mucosa contains the lamina propria and the muscularis mucosa. The epithelial cells extend down into the lamina propria, where they form columns of secretory cells and called as the gastric gland. Several gastric glands open into the bottom of narrow channels, which is called as the gastric pits. Secretion from several gastric glands flow into each gastric pit and then into the lumen of the stomach. The gastric gland contains three types of the exocrine gland cell that secrete their product into the stomach lumen: mucous neck cells, Gibbs cells, and the parietal cells. Both surface mucous cells and mucous neck cells secrete the mucus. Next one is the parietal cell. This parietal cell produces the intrinsic factor and the hydrochloric acid. Next one is Gibbs cell. This Gibbs cell is secrete the pepsinogen and the gastric lipids. The secretion of the mucus, parietal and Gibbs cell from the gastric juice, which is total 2000 to 3000 ml, roughly 2 to 3 quantity per day. In addition, gastric gland includes a type of enteroendocrine cells, the G cell, which is located mainly in the pyrolic antrum and secretes the hormone gastrin into the bloodstream. Now see, these are the gastric pits, lamina propria, mucous neck cell, parietal cell, Gibbs cell, gastric gland, and the G cells. Here is the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis, and here is the serosa. Now see in this, we have the gastric pit, surface mucosa, mucous neck cells, parietal cells, and the Gibbs cells and the G cell. The surface mucous cells secrete the mucus, mucous neck cells secrete the mucus, parietal cell, which is responsible for secretion of hydrochloric acid and intrinsic factor, Gibbs cell responsible for the secretion of pepsinogen and the gastric lipid, and the G cell which secretes the hormone gastrin. Here is again the mucous cell, parietal cell, and the G cell. Next one is mechanical and chemical digestion in the stomach. Several minutes after food enters the stomach, wave of peristalsis pass over the stomach every 15 to 25 seconds. Few peristaltic waves are observed in the fundus, which primarily has a storage function. Each peristaltic wave moves gastric content from the body of the stomach down into the antrum, a process which is known as the propulsion. The pyrolic sphincter normally remains almost but not completely closed because most food particles in the stomach initially are too large to fit through the narrow pyrolic sphincter. They are forced back into the body of the stomach, a process referred to as the retropropulsion. Another round of propulsion then occurs, moving the food particles back down into the antrum. If the food particles are still too large to pass through the pyrolic sphincter, retropropulsion occurs again as the particles are squeezed back into the body of the stomach. The net result of these movements is that gastric content are mixed with the gastric juice, eventually becoming reduced to a soupy liquid which is called as the chyme. Once the food particles in chyme are small enough, they can pass through the pyrolic sphincter, a phenomenon which is known as the gastric emptying. Gastric emptying is a slow process. Only about 3 ml of chyme moves through the pyrolic sphincter at a time. Now next is the summary of digestive activity in the stomach. First one is the mucosa in that the surface mucosa cells and the mucosa neck cells activity is the secrete the mucus and the absorption. Next one is parietal cells. They secrete the intrinsic factor, again secrete the hydrochloric acid. Next one is the Chief cells. Secrete pepsinogen, again secrete the gastric lipase. Next one is G cell. They secrete the gastric muscularis, which is mixing waves, gently peristaltic movement, and the pyrolic sphincter opens to permit the pancreas of the chyme into the duodenum. Now see this stimulatory event and the inhibitory events. First one is the cephalic phase. In that, sight and thought of food in the cerebral cortex and conditional reflex. Next is stimulation of taste and smell receptor, the hypothalamus and the medulla oblongata to the vagus nerve, and stomach gets secreted the acid. Next one is the gastric phase. In that, the stomach distension activates the stretch receptor, vagovagal reflexes to the medulla and to the vagus nerve to the secrete the stomach activity. Next one in that again the local reflexes, they again stimulate the acid secretion. Next one is the food chemicals, especially peptides and caffeine and rising pH activate the chemoreceptor. They activate the G cell and after that gastrin release to blood and the stomach secretory activity. Next one is intestinal phase, presence of low pH, parietal digestive food, fats or hypertonic solution in duodenum. When stomach begins to empty in the intestinal gastrin release to blood, they cause the brief effect and again the stomach releases the acid. Now inhibitory event in that loss of appetite and the depression, they cause the cerebral cortex and the lack of stimulatory impulses to parasympathetic center. In gastric phase, excessive acidity in the stomach to cause the G cell and gastrin secretion declines. In emotional upset, sympathetic nervous system get activated and overrides parasympathetic control. Now, in the food, distension of duodenum, presence of fatty acidic hypertonic chyme and or irritants in duodenum, they cause the local refluxes, vagal nuclei in medulla and the pyrolic sphincter, they cause the enterogastric refluxes. Now next one is the in intestinal phase, distension, presence of fatty acid, parietally digested food in the duodenum, they cause release of intestinal hormone, secretin, cholecytokinin, vasoactive intestinal peptides. That line indicate the stimulatory effect and this line which indicate the inhibitory effect. Now here we starts with the acid production or the hydrochloric acid production. Now this hydrochloric acid which is produced in the parietal cell to complex series of the reaction, the carbon dioxide is diffused into the parietal cells and the enzyme carbonic anhydrase catalyze the reaction between the water and the carbon dioxide to form the carbonic acid. This carbonic acid will dissociate to form the bicarbonate ion, the hydrogen ion. And bicarbonate ion is transported back into the bloodstream and ion exchange molecule in the plasma membrane exchange a molecule, bicarbonate going on and the chloride coming in. The hydrogen ion activated transport in the duct of gastric gland and negatively charged chloride ion fuse with positively charged hydrogen ion. The potassium ion transported to inside to exchange the hydrogen ion and the net result is production of hydrochloric acid in the parietal cell and the secretion in the duct of the gastric gland. Here is the overall of the gastric acid production or the hydrochloric acid production. Small intestine. Most digestion and absorption of nutrients occur in a long tube which is called as the small intestine. Because of this, its structure is specially adapted for these functions. Its length along provides a large surface area for digestion and absorption, and that area is further increased by circular folds, villi, and the microvilli. The small intestine begins at the pyloric sphincter of the stomach, coils through the central and inferior part of the abdominal cavity, and eventually opens into the large intestine. It averages 2.5 cm in diameter. Its length is about 3 meter in a living person. Next is anatomy of the small intestine. The small intestine is divided into the three regions. The first part of small intestine is the duodenum, the shortest region. It starts at the pyloric sphincter of the stomach and is in the form of C-shaped tube that extend about 25 cm until it merges with the jejunum. The jejunum is the next portion and it is about 1 meter long and extended to the ileum. Jejunum means empty, which is how it is found at the death. The final and longest region of the small intestine, the ileum, measures about 2 meter and joins the large intestine at a smooth muscle sphincter, which is called as the ileocecal sphincter or the wall. Now, here is the small intestine, that the duodenum, jejunum, ileum. Now, function of the small intestine in that segmentation mix chyme with digestive juice and bring food into contact with mucosa for absorption, peristalsis, propel chyme through the small intestine. Next is complete the digestion of carbohydrate, protein and lipid, begins and complete digestion of nucleic acid. Last one is absorb about 90% of nutrients and water that pass through digestive system. Next is histology of histamine. The wall of the small intestine is composed of the same four layers that make up most of the gastrointestinal tract, which is the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis and the serosa. The mucosa is composed of a layer of epithelium, lamina propria, muscularis mucosa. The epithelial layer of small intestinal mucosa consists of simple columnar epithelium that contains many types of the cells. And absorptive cells of the epithelium release enzymes that digest the food and contain microvilli that absorb nutrients in small intestinal canal. Also present in the epithelium are goblet cells which secrete the mucus. Beside absorptive cells and goblet cells, the intestinal glands also contain Paneth cells and enteroendocrine cells. The Paneth cells secrete the lysozyme, a bactericidal enzyme, and are capable of phagocytosis. It means the killing of the microbes. The Paneth cells may have a role in regulating the microbial population in the small intestine. Now see in the diagram, here is the circulatory folds, villi, submucosa, circular layer of the muscle, longitudinal layer of muscle and the serosa. Now here is the absorptive cell, goblet cell, lamina propria, enteroendocrine cells, Paneth cells, again the lymphatic nodule. Now microvilli, absorptive cell absorb the nutrients, goblet cell which secrete the mucus, enteroendocrine cell which is responsible for secretion of the hormones, secretin, cholecytokinin and the GIP. Now Paneth cell which secrete the lysozyme and which is capable of the phagocytosis of the microbes. Here are totally the small intestine. Next is chemical digestion and absorption of the different nutrients. Now chemical digestion of the carbohydrate. The absorptive via the co-transport with sodium and facilitated diffusion. Facilitated diffusion, it means the transfer of the solute molecule from higher concentration to the lower concentration with the help of carrier. Enter the capillary bed in the villi, transported to the liver via the hepatic portal vein. Enzymes used to salivary amylase, pancreatic amylase, and the brush border enzyme. Now see, here is the food stop, enzyme and source, site of action and path of the absorption. Now starch and the disaccharide in the presence of salivary amylase and the pancreatic amylase. The site of action for salivary amylase is mouth, and for pancreatic amylase the site of action is small intestine. They forms the oligosaccharides and the disaccharides. These oligosaccharides and the disaccharides further divided into lactose, maltose and the sucrose. Again this lactose divided into the galactose and the glucose, and sucrose divided into the glucose and the fructose. In the presence of brush border enzyme in small intestine, they contain the dextrinase, glucoamylase, lactase, maltase and the sucrase in the small intestine. And the path is the monosaccharide glucose and galactose are absorbed via co-transport with the sodium ions. Fructose passes via facilitated diffusion. All the monosaccharides enter the capillary blood in the villi and are transported to the liver via the hepatic portal. Now next one is the chemical digestion of the protein, and the absorption is similar to the carbohydrate. Enzyme use, which is a pepsin in the stomach, enzyme acting in the small intestine, pancreatic enzyme which is a trypsin, chymotrypsin and the carboxypeptidase. Brush border enzyme in that the aminopeptidase, carboxypeptidase and the dipeptidase. Now here is the protein get converted into the large polypeptide in the presence of the pepsin. Thus reaction occur in the stomach. After the large polypeptide get converted into the small polypeptide and the small peptidase in the presence of pancreatic enzyme which is the trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase in the small intestine. After the small polypeptides get converted into the amino acids, some dipeptides and the tripeptides in the presence of brush border enzyme which is the aminopeptidase, carboxypeptidase and the dipeptidase in small intestine, and they gives the path amino acid are absorbed via the co-transport with sodium ions. They enter the capillary blood in the villi and are transported to the liver via the hepatic portal vein. Now next one is the chemical digestion of the fat. In that, absorption is diffusion into the intestinal cells where they combine with the proteins and extrude the chylomicrons. Enter lacteals and are transported to systemic circulation via the lymph. Glycerol and short chain fatty acid are absorbed into the capillary blood in villi, transported via the hepatic portal vein. Enzymes or the chemicals used which is the bile salt and the pancreatic lipase. Next one is fatty acid absorption. The fatty acid and monoglycerides enter intestinal cells via the diffusion. They are combined with protein within the cells. Resulting chylomicrons are extruded. They enter lacteals and are transported to the circulation via the lymph. Now here is the fat digestion. Unemulsified fat in the presence of emulsified by the detergent action of the bile salt, ducted in form of liver and the pancreatic lipase, both are in the small intestine, get formed the monoglycerides and fatty acid, and glycerol and the fatty acid. By the fatty acid and monoglycerides enter the intestinal cell via the diffusion. They are combined with proteins within the cells and the resulting chylomicrons are excluded. They enter the lacteals of the villi and are transported to the systemic circulation via the lymph in the thoracic duct. Now next one is the chemical digestion of nucleic acid. In that, absorption is active transport via the membrane carrier. Active transport, it means the solute is transport from lower concentration to higher concentration, and that's why they require the energy. Absorbed in villi and transported to liver via the hepatic portal vein. Enzymes uses pancreatic ribonuclease and deoxyribonuclease in the small intestines. Now here is nucleic acid in the presence of pancreatic ribonuclease and the deoxyribonuclease in small intestine, and brush border enzyme which increase the nucleosidase and the phosphatase in the small intestine forms the pentose sugar, N-containing base and the phosphate ions. The active transport via the membrane carries the absorbed into small blood in the villi and transported to the liver via the hepatic portal vein. Now next one is the electrolyte absorption. Most ions are actively absorbed along the length of the small intestine. Sodium is coupled with the absorption of glucose and amino acid. Ionic iron is transported into the mucosal cells where it is bound to ferritin. Anions passively follow the electrical potential established by sodium. Potassium diffuses across the intestinal mucosa in response to osmotic gradient. Calcium gate absorption is related to blood levels of ionic calcium, is regulated by vitamin D and parathyroid hormone. Next one is water absorption. 95% of water is absorbed in the small intestine by the osmosis. Water moves in both the direction across the intestinal mucosa. Net osmosis occurs whenever a concentration gradient is established by active transport of solute into the mucosal cell. Concentration gradient, it means the solute molecule is transported from higher concentration to the lower concentration. Here is the totality of the digestion and the absorption of the food. Next is large intestine. The large intestine is the terminal portion of the gastrointestinal tract. The overall function of the large intestine are the completion of absorption, the production of certain vitamins, and the formation of the feces. Anatomy of the large intestine. The large intestine, which is about 1.5 meter long, 6.5 centimeter in diameter in living humans, extended from the ileum to the anus. Structurally, the four major regions of the large intestine are the cecum, colon, rectum, and the anal canal. The opening from the ileum into the large intestine is guarded by a fold of mucous membrane which is called as the ileocecal sphincter or the wall, which allows material from the small intestine to pass into the large intestine. Hanging inferior to the ileocecal wall is the cecum, a small pouch about 6 cm long. Attached to the cecum is a twisted coil tube measuring about 8 cm in length, which is called as the appendix or the vermiform appendix. The mesentery of the appendix, which is called as the mesoappendix, attaches the appendix to the inferior part of the mesentery of the ileum. The open end of the cecum merges with a long tube which is called as the colon, which is a food passage, which is divided into the ascending, transfer, descending, and the sigmoid portion. True to its name, the ascending colon ascends on the right side of the abdomen, reaches the inferior surface of the liver. The colon continues across the abdomen to the left side as the transfer colon, inferior to the level of the iliac crest as the descending colon, and the sigmoid colon which begins near the left iliac crest, projects medially to the midline and terminates as the rectum at about the level of the third sacral vertebra. Now here is the large intestine. Here is the cecum, ileocecal sphincter. Ascending colon, this is the transfer colon, descending colon and the sigmoid colon. Lumen of the large intestine contains the mucosa, submucosa, muscularis and the serosa. Next one is pancreas. The pancreas, a retroperitoneal gland that is about 12 to 15 cm long and 2.5 cm thick, lies posterior to the greater curvature of the stomach. The pancreas consists of a head, body and tail and is usually connected to the duodenum by the two ducts. The head is the extended portion of the organ near the curve of the duodenum. Superior to and to the left of the head are the central body and the tapering tail. Now see in the diagram. Here is the pancreas, contains the tail, body, head. Head of the pancreas, body of pancreas and here is the tail of the pancreas. Now histology of the pancreas. The pancreas is made up of a small cluster of glandular epithelial cells. About 99% of the cluster, which is called as the acini, constitute the exocrine portion of the organs. The cells within acini secrete a mixture of fluid and digestive enzyme which is called as the pancreatic juice. The remaining 1% of the cluster which is called as the pancreatic islet or the islet of Langerhans from the endocrine portion of the pancreas. These cells secrete the hormones glucagon, insulin, somatostatin and the pancreatic polypeptide. Next one is composition and function of pancreatic juice. Each day the pancreas produces 1200 to 1500 ml of pancreatic juice, a clear, colorless liquid which is consisting mostly of water, some salt, some bicarbonates and the several enzymes. The sodium bicarbonate gives pancreatic juice a slightly alkaline pH which is 7.2 to 8.2 that buffer acidic gastric juice in chyme, stop the action of pepsin from the stomach. Proper pH of the action of digestive enzyme in this small intestine. The enzyme in pancreatic juice include a starch digesting enzyme which is called as the pancreatic amylase. Several enzymes that digest the protein into peptide is called as the trypsin, chymotrypsin, carboxypeptidase and the elastase. The principal triglyceride digesting enzyme in adults which is called as the pancreatic lipase and nucleic acid digesting enzyme which is called as the ribonuclease and the deoxyribonuclease that digest the ribonucleic acid and deoxyribonucleic acid into the nucleotides. Now next is the liver and the gallbladder. The liver is the heaviest gland of the body, weighing about 1.4 kg in the average adult. The gallbladder is a pear-shaped sac that is located in a depression of the posterior surface of the liver. It is about 7 to 10 cm long and typically hangs from the anterior inferior margin of the liver. Next one is anatomy of the liver. Liver is almost completely covered by visceral peritoneum and is completely covered by a dense irregular connective tissue layer that lies deep to the peritoneum. The liver is divided into the two principal lobes, a large right lobe and a small left lobe by the falciform ligaments, a fold of the mesentery. The part of the gallbladder includes the broad fundus which project inferiorly beyond the inferior border of the liver, the body, the central portion and the neck, the tapered portion. The body and neck project superiorly. Next is liver, the largest gland in the body. Superficially has four lobes, right, left, caudate and the caudate. The falciform ligaments separate the right and left lobe anteriorly, suspend the liver from the diaphragm and anterior abdominal wall. The ligamentum is a remnant of the fetal umbilical veins, runs along the free edge of the falciform ligament. Liver associated structure. The lesser omentum anchors the liver to the stomach. The hepatic blood vessel enters the liver at the portal hepatis. The gallbladder rests in a recess on the inferior surface of the right lobe. Bile leaves the liver via bile duct, which fuse into the common hepatic duct. The common hepatic duct fuses with the cystic duct. These two ducts form the bile duct. Next one is microscopic anatomy of the liver, which is a hexagonal shaped liver. Lobules are the structural and functional unit of the liver, which is composed of hepatocyte plates radiating outward from the central vein. Portal tracts are found at each of the 6 corners of each liver lobule. Portal tracts consist of a bile duct and hepatic artery, which supplies the oxygen-rich blood to the liver. Hepatic portal vein, which carries the venous blood with nutrients from the digestive viscera. Liver sinusoid, which is enlarged capillary located between hepatic plates. Kupffer cells, hepatic macrophages found in the liver sinusoid. Hepatocyte functions include production of bile, processing blood-borne nutrients, storage of fat-soluble vitamin, detoxification, and secreted bile flows between hepatocytes towards the bile ducts in the portal tracts. Now next is composition of bile. A yellow-green alkaline solution containing bile salt, bile pigment, cholesterol, neutral fat, phospholipids and the electrolytes. The bile salts are cholesterol derived that emulsifying fat, facilitate fat and cholesterol absorption, help to solubilize the cholesterol. Enterohepatic circulation recycles bile salt. The cheap bile pigment is bilirubin, a waste product of heme. The gallbladder. Thin-walled green muscular sac on the ventral surface of the liver stores and concentrates bile by absorbing its water and ions, and release bile via the cystic duct, which flows into the bile duct. Next is regulation of bile release. First one is acidic. Fatty kine cause the duodenum to release cholecystokinin, it means CCK, and secreting into the bloodstream. Bile salt and secretin transported in blood stimulate the liver to produce bile. Vagal stimulation causes the weak concentration of gallbladder. Cholecystokinin causes the gallbladder to contract, the hepatopancreatic sphincter to relax. As a result, bile enters the duodenum. Now here is the pancreas, and their activity deliver pancreatic juice into the duodenum via pancreatic duct to assist the absorption. Next one is liver, produce bile necessary to emulsification and absorption of lipid. Gallbladder stores concentration and deliver bile into the duodenal via the common bile duct. Small intestine, major site of digestion and absorption of nutrients and water in gastrointestinal tract. Next is the mucosal, submucosal, in that intestinal gland secrete intestinal juice to assist the absorption. Absorptive cell digest and absorb nutrient. Goblet cells secrete the mucus. Enteroendocrine cells secrete the secretin, cholecytokinin and glucose dependent insulinotropic peptide. Panic cells secrete the lysozyme and the phagocytosis. Duodenal gland secrete alkaline fluid to buffer stomach acid and mucus for protection and lubrication. Circular folds for mucus and submucous that increase the surface area for digestion and absorption. Villi is the finger-like projection. Microvilli is microscopic membrane cover projection of absorptive epithelial cells that contain the brush border enzyme and that increase surface area for digestion and absorption. Next one is the submuscularis segmentation type of peristalsis, alternating contraction of circular smooth muscle fibers that produce segmentation and resegmentation of the section of small intestine mixes the chyme with digestive juice and bring food into contact with the mucus of absorption. Migration motility complex type of peristalsis, way of contraction and relaxation of circulation and longitudinal smooth muscle fibers passing the length of small intestine moves chyme towards the ileocecal sphincter. Now next is summary of organs of digestive system and their function. Now first one is the tongue. Function is the food for mastication, shapes food into a bowls. Next one is salivary gland. Saliva produces by this gland soften, moisten and dissolve the food, cleansing mouth and teeth. Initiate the digestion of starch. Next one is teeth for cut, tear and wear food to reduce solid to smaller particles for swallowing. Pancreas, this pancreatic juice buffer acidic gastric juice in chyme. Stop the action of pepsin from the stomach, create the propel pH for digestion in the small intestine and participate in the digestion of carbohydrate, proteins, triglycerides and the nucleic acid. Liver produces bile. Gallbladder store and concentration of the bile and release into the small intestine. Mouth, in that the mouth include the tongue, salivary gland and teeth. Again the lips and the cheeks responsible for the mastication. Pharynx receive bowels from the oral cavity and pass into the esophagus. Now esophagus receives the bowels from the pharynx and moves into the stomach. They require the relaxation of the upper esophageal sphincter and secretion of the mucus. Now stomach, which is responsible for mixing of the food. Mixing wares combine saliva, food and gastric juice which activate pepsin, initiate protein digestion, kills the microbes in food, helps to absorb vitamin B12, contracts the lower esophageal sphincter, increase stomach motility, relax the pyrolic sphincter and moves the chyme into the small intestine. Next one is small intestine. Segmentation mixes the chyme with digestive juice. Peristalsis propel chyme towards the ileocecal sphincter. Digestive secretion from the small intestine, pancreas and liver complete the digestion of carbohydrate, protein, lipid and nucleic acid with circular folds, villi and microvilli help to absorb about 90% of digested nutrients. Now in large intestine, churning, peristalsis and mass peristalsis drive the colonic content into the rectum. Bacterial produce some B vitamins and vitamin K, absorptive of some water, ions and vitamins occur deification. Here is the total of digestive system. Next one is the question 1. First question, the small intestine has 3 parts. The first part is called as option A is duodenum, option B is esophagus, option C is larynx and option D is none of the above. And the answer is A, which is the duodenum. Question number 2. Dash is a characteristic feature of epithelial cells of the intestine. Option A is glottis, B is pilus, C is bowels and D is microvilli. And the answer is D, which is a microvilli. Next one is an infant feeding interiorly on the mother's milk pass the stool that are colored the yellow. What is the reason for this? Option A casein, option B bile pigments, option C pancreatic pigments, option D none of the above. and the answer is V, which is a bile pigments. Fourth question. What is the enzyme that breaks down the lactose? A is lipase enzyme, B is pepsin, C is amylase, and D is lactase. And the answer is D, which is a lactase. Now next one is the enzyme present in pancreatic juice are amylase, trypsinogen, peptidase, and the renin. Second one is trypsinogen, lipase, amylase, procarboxypeptidase. Next is peptidase, pepsin, amylase, and the renin. Next is maltase, amylase, trypsinogen, and the pepsin. And the answer is B, which is a trypsinogen, lipase, amylase, and the procarboxypeptidase. Next question. The absorption of fructose by intestinal mucosa is A is co-transport mechanism, B is simple diffusion, C is facilitated transport, D is active transport, and the answer is C, which is a facilitated transport. Next one is, how does food move through your digestive tract? And the answer is by wave-like muscle contraction, and these muscle contraction move the food from esophagus to the stomach through the intestine. Next question is, where does most of the digestive process take place? Answer is in the small intestine. The food is broken down and transported through the intestinal wall to the another part of the body. Next question. What does the liver do to help the digestion? In that, they produces the bile. This substance breaks down the fat into the intestine, and the gallbladder stores the bile until it's needed, then release into the small intestine. Next question. Food poisoning is caused by eating the contaminated food. How can it be prevented? Now, then you should also keep kitchen and cutting boards clean and wash your hands before handling the food, and do not use the same cutting board for meats and the poultry and for the fruits or the salad that will not be cooked. And the result is today's practical is the digestive system with the help of models, chart, and the specimen was studied. Here is totally cover the digestive system. Thank you.